video, I'm going to be talking about my experience as a millennial growing up in the early 2000s and absorbing the popular culture of the time and how it impacted my body image. So just as a trigger warning, I'm going to be talking about body dysmorphia, negative body image and eating disorders. Before we jump in, I think it's important to define some of the terms we're going to be using. So the National Eating Disorders Collaboration has done a great job of explaining what body image is, and I've linked them down below if you're interested in checking out any of their resources. Body image is a combination of the thoughts and feelings that you have about your body. Body image may range between positive and negative experiences, and one person may feel at different times positive or negative, or a combination of both. Body image is influenced by internal, e.g. personality, and external, e.g. social environment factors. Body image can be positive or negative, or something in between, and at some point we've all experienced both positive and negative body image. It's completely normal for you to fluctuate between the two, and it's impacted by a whole range of different factors like your physical and mental well-being, your lifestyle, your personal experiences, the identities you hold, environmental factors, socio-economic factors, all kinds of things. The National Eating Disorders Collaboration breaks down positive and negative body image here. When a person is able to accept, appreciate and respect their body, they may be described as having a positive body image. This is not the same as body satisfaction, as you can be dissatisfied with aspects of your body, yet still be able to accept it for all its limitations. Positive body image is important because it is one of the protective factors which can make a person less susceptible to developing an eating disorder. A positive body image is associated with higher self-esteem, which dictates how a person feels about themselves, can impact on every aspect of life and contribute to happiness and well-being. Self-acceptance, making a person more likely to feel comfortable and happy with the way they look, and less likely to feel impacted by unrealistic images in the media and societal pressures to look a certain way. Having a healthy outlook and behaviours, as it is easier to lead a balanced lifestyle with healthier attitudes and practices relating to food and exercise when you are in tune with and respond to the needs of your body. Body dissatisfaction occurs when a person has persistent negative thoughts and feelings about their body. Body dissatisfaction is an internal emotion and cognitive process, but it is influenced by external factors such as pressures to meet a certain appearance ideal. Body dissatisfaction can drive people to engage in unhealthy weight-controlled behaviours, particularly disordered eating. This places them at heightened risk for developing an eating disorder. The term body dysmorphia often crops up in conversations around negative body image, but what does it actually mean? The NHS defines body dysmorphia as the following. Dysmorphic disorder, BDD, or body dysmorphia, is a mental health condition where a person spends a lot of time worrying about flaws in their appearance. These flaws are often unnoticeable to others. People of any age can have BDD, but it's most common in teenagers and young adults. It affects both men and women. Having BDD does not mean you're vain or self-obsessed. It can be very upsetting and have a big impact on your life. You might have BDD if you worry a lot about a specific area of your body, particularly your face, spend a lot of time comparing your looks with other people's, look at yourself in mirrors a lot or avoid mirrors altogether, go to a lot of effort to conceal flaws, for example, by spending a long time combing your hair, applying makeup or choosing clothes, pick at your skin to make it smooth. BDD can seriously affect your daily life, including your work, social life, and relationships. Societal norms definitely play a big impact on your body image, and it's to the point that it can be sometimes difficult to define where your own personal ideals start and society's end. Research into body image has shown that individuals have a tendency to feel more negatively about their bodies after viewing media of idealized body types. Additionally, pop culture figures such as actors, models, and social influencers are likely to be viewed as role models, particularly by individuals under the age of 40. And these media figures often have what society deems as desirable and aspirational bodies. Okay, so let me paint you a picture. I grew up in the early 2000s and I can distinctly remember how toxic the discourse was around women's bodies. In the early 2000s, the body that was idealized by mainstream society, it was a very rigid definition that the vast majority of people didn't fit into, especially if you were non-white and or someone who sat outside of the gender binary. And this idealized body type was very much rooted in Eurocentric mainstream culture and white supremacy. I looked for some examples of women celebrities from the early 2000s who embodied the idealized body type of the time. As you can see, they all have a similar kind of look. The vast majority are white, they are stereotypically feminine, and they have small facial features. They don't present outside of the gender binary. They have super washboard flat stomachs, slim toned arms and legs, small butts. Sometimes they have large breasts, usually implants, but a lot of them also have like smaller chests. Being in the early 2000s was just, it was really rough. You were really in the trenches when it came to body image. It was the cultural norm to give extremely harsh critiques of the bodies of celebrities, mostly women, and just like women in general. Like, seriously, no celebrity was safe. Here's some examples of the extreme body shaming culture that I was exposed to in my early teens into my early 20s.
Another day in the life of
so hungry. I thought I was going to pass out. I'm very obsessed with my weight, and I'm obsessed about what I eat.
How long are you planning on, like, how much, like, weight are you planning on losing?
I'm just going to go until I like how I look. I'm determined to be a model, and if I have to be skinny to be a model,
being among girls who are so skinny. Felt a little bit bad for Robin because she is the bigger up down here in the hips and thighs than the rest of us.
Okay, Robin. Now, are we shooting for the large size category?
Yes, Robin would represent a plus size model.
One problem that I do have with Robin, I think on the top she's not plus size, and on the bottom she is.
Robin?
Robin's out as far as I'm concerned about being a supermodel.
No,
Definitely not. This girl is not
absolutely
first.
not.
Well, that's my
Why?
because I think next America's Top Model is not a plus size model. I'm sorry.
I just wish her upper body was bigger and matched her lower body better.
Do you have to be covered all the time? Like, why can't if you want to be covered? This is saying, oh, I've got hips, so I'm covering them up. Why are you crying, Robin? Talk to me. Why are you crying?
Let's just call it as it is. Robin, first of all, is too old to be starting
And fat.
model.
She's huge. She's not going to be a top model.
She won't. That's
she
the
should
reality.
work for a car toppling company.
The mainstream media in the early 2000s was wild. Like, I remember growing up and just feeling bombarded by all of these like toxic ideas about women's bodies, and this was already a really difficult time for me. I'm going through puberty, I'm experiencing all these physical and mental changes. It was a lot. Like many young girls in the early 2000s, I was obsessed with fashion magazines. I think my favourites were Teen Vogue. I also used to read Grazia, Cosmopolitan, Glamour, basically any fashion magazine I could get my hands on. My eyeballs were regularly assaulted with images of these idealized bodies that looked nothing like me, and that in itself was extremely damaging at a pivotal time in my life when I was feeling very self-conscious about my body, and I wanted to fit in, and I was trying to figure out, like, you know, that transition between moving out of childhood and into adulthood. And then on top of that, there was also a lot of really harmful advice being distributed via these fashion magazines, like around extreme calorie restriction, dieting, that kind of thing. And I was taking all of that in my, you know, young, impressionable mind. I definitely internalized a lot of this toxic rhetoric. So much importance was placed on looking a certain way, and like by extension, you know, having like the idealized body was doing womanhood the right way. And as an impressionable teenager, I wanted to do womanhood the right way. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be deemed as desirable and acceptable within mainstream society. Obviously, at the age of 13, I wasn't able to articulate it like that. But even back then, I understood that being skinny equaled attractive, and being perceived as attractive as a woman was incredibly important in terms of being a good woman, doing womanhood correctly. And it was like one of the most important things that a woman could do in society. I remember I went on my first diet when I was about 13 years old, because that's what was pushed to me in the fashion magazines, in the media, like the movies I would watch. And it was like presented as a tool to help you achieve the idealized body, because at the time being really, really skinny was like a major social status symbol, and it was a way of kind of like, I guess, a way of kind of shifting yourself towards the idealized body. And it was really like the only way I could potentially achieve having that perfect body, because like I mentioned before, this idealized version of womanhood, this idealized body, is very much rooted in whiteness, and I was never going to be able to achieve that. But one way I could get closer to the idealized body was by being really skinny. I engaged in fad diets, extreme dieting, purging behaviors, excessive exercise, all of these things from around the age of about 14 until I was about maybe like 21. Yeah, it took a lot to like unpack all of that toxic ideology, and to kind of even come to terms with the fact that I had disordered eating, and I had a harmful relationship with my body and with food. And it wasn't until I got into my like early 20s that I started to challenge those thoughts and unpack them, and I started to build a more healthy relationship with my body and with food. And that was triggered by seeing other millennials at the time start talking about their experiences on social media. I'd say over the last like 10 years, I've started to embrace body neutrality.
Welcome to another day in the place for
So I no longer calorie restrict or partake in like excessive exercise, purging, binging, all of these harmful behaviors. And I feel like overall I do have a much healthier relationship with my body and with food because of the like embracing of body neutrality. But even having said that, now as an adult, all these years later, I do feel like absorbing those toxic ideas, those images at such a young, impressionable age, it's left a mark on my psyche. And even now, like there are moments sometimes where I feel like those toxic thoughts will creep up. Like I'll be looking in the mirror and I'll start like grabbing at my belly fat or like my thighs and feeling like, you know, that kind of hint of disgust, feeling uncomfortable. Or I'll be about to go for a second serving and I'll be like, oh no, don't eat too much, don't overdo it, you know, things like that. Or like feeling like, oh, you can't have 2 desserts in a day, or you can't, you know, like these little rules that I used to have back when I had disordered eating. So yeah, I have to remain vigilant. I feel like in my opinion, when you experience disordered eating or an eating disorder, even if you do have even if you are able to heal from it and to then adopt a healthier attitude to food and your diet, it never truly goes away, and it is something that you always have to be conscious of, and you always have to challenge those thoughts and be vigilant to ensure that they don't creep back up again. And so now, although we have made progress since the early 2000s, we do still live in a image conscious society, and mainstream society does still push these problematic body ideals. And so I'm having to tackle with that and try and push back against that. And then I also have the hang up of growing up in the early 2000s and absorbing that extremely toxic body shaming ideology.
We have Jessica Simpson in these photos. Jessica Simpson was probably even ripped to shreds more than Tyra. People tore her apart in the media, in magazines, in all kinds of commentary for wearing these jeans and looking quote unquote fat. When I'm pretty sure in this photo she's maybe like a size 4, size 6 maximum. And again, my perspective looking at that was like, oh my gosh, like again, if that is fat, then what am I? And luckily now we have the body positivity movement where we're seeing different body types and body shapes in the media, and other people are being represented in a way they never were before. But I don't know. I'm just scared. Like looking at this, like I hope we do not go back to that, because that was a fucking shame.
How was growing up in the early 2000s for you? Did you also struggle with body image? Please feel free to share your experiences in the comment section. And if you like this type of video and you'd like to see more, please follow me. Thanks for watching.